All right, everyone, is interview time, and we are here with repeat guests. I think this is episode 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah. Okay, I see the 4 from Orpheus. With repeat guest, return guest, wonderful human, Orpheus Black. We love Orpheus and everything that he has to share about the world of sexuality and beyond. We actually still have a secret plan to come and hang out with Orpheus in person, but until then, we will just hang out in the interwebs. And Orpheus is someone that we would like to have, I think, quarterly, because he has so many wonderful gifts to share. And this episode, as you heard in the intro, is very much about bondage, restraints. And if you don't know what that is, well, stay tuned, because you will learn a lot of wonderful things. Orpheus, even though you've been on our show many times, even though we already shared a bit about you in our bio in the intro, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality and maybe bondage?
Well, in the field of sexuality, I am a 3-time leather title holder, which means I went to 3 different organizations to be able to represent kink, BDSM, and fetish within that region. So not only am I a LA title holder, which means this was my territory to teach in, I was also Southwest, which means I had the entire region twice. So that's one of the ways that I got into it. Also, I came into it through being mentored and mentoring others. So for me, that was a huge thing. You don't see very much mentoring anymore, and I absolutely love it. But through people like Jaya Ma, the Boulay brothers of Dragula, I'm not too sure if you've seen the TV show Dragula, Sin Love, Marie Love, all these people, Vanessa Blue, gave me a podium to really step on and hone my craft and really talk about the nuances of BDSM and kink to a larger audience. So I've been doing this almost 20 years. I've met a lot of amazing people who have lifted my voice, helped me become an educator, and really give me deeper insights into understanding what the human condition is, what desire is, and how we can capture it.
Nice. You always bring something special to Shameless Sex. Our listeners love you. We love you because you are, I think that you're one of the best humans in the world, especially in topics about bondage, about dominance. You've had shows before that I've listened to again and again, and you're world renowned. You're awesome. So, okay. So before I give you any more, fluffing that
April's the
beautiful beard of yours.
Here. Yeah.
I'm a chief fluffer. That's why I was hired here at Shameless Sex.
Is that like CFO?
But I really only say things that I mean. You know that, Amy.
Yeah.
If I don't say anything at all, that means that I have nothing to say.
It's
but
true.
about you, I have a lot of great things to say, Orpheus. I've learned a lot from you. This is why I just adore having you on the show again and again. So, okay, when we're talking about BDSM, what is that B all about?
The B is for bondage. Technically, the term is bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, right? So the bondage really stands for the ability to restrain the human form in a way that builds tension, specifically erotic tension, in the body that is waiting to be released in the form of orgasm. Does that make sense? So most people are binding the body, cultivating the erotic tension, and then when they have this big, amazing release, as they push against the restraints, as their body flex, as their muscles move, as they drip sweat, exuding like this perspirance, everything that comes together in one just amazing orgasm and one release. So that's the intention of the B in bondage.
Ooh, yes.
So there's no R in R, like a pirate joke R, in BDSM, because we're also talking about restraints. And so this is like a question with a question here. I have another question that actually, I have a question for April, actually, personally, a very special question for her. But so before I go into that very personal question, when we talk about bondage, is that the same as restraints or restraint play? And because a lot of people, maybe that in my world at least, talk more about restraints as opposed to bondage. What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so first of all, I like to say nobody enjoys bondage, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, psychological, economically, right? What people want to do is be the focus of an interaction. They want to be seen. They want to be felt. They want to be held. They want to be able to be fully present and be the focus of the attention. That's often what bondage is. And so when we use rope to bind, we also call it shibari. We also call it kimbaku. The process of binding the body makes a person feel significant. And this is an opportunity to really make a person feel like the center of attention, all eyes on you, feeding you. Voyeurism is an intricate part of bondage. Restraint is to restrict a person's ability to move. Two different things. So when I restrict your hands, I bind them together so that they can't come apart. I bind your legs open so that they can't come together. The intentionality behind the two are different. So do you want to build significance? Do you want to build connection? Do you want to facilitate an interaction that gives a person a healthy relationship with the masculine dominant or the feminine dominant? Or are you interested in locking their body into position so that you can have your way with them? Two different ways of being. And if we're going to have intentional sex, we need to be clear about which one we're doing so that we can also get consent, right?
Very important. Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, that's like the number one non-negotiable there is consent, everyone. And which brings me to my question for April, piggybacking on what you said. And you actually already explained some of the whys, right? The whys of why would I want to experience bondage or restraint play, or why would I want to do it? So, but I've had this burning desire, everyone, just so you all know, I've had this burning desire for April. I want you to tie me up. But I really don't know exactly why. I have this burning desire for you, April. Yeah, you.
To just your hands in your legs, or where? Where do you want me to tie you?
I haven't figured. So I haven't figured all this out yet. Orpheus, I need help. I don't know exactly where or why or how, but why do I want April to tie me up? It sounds really hot.
Okay, here's the thing. I tell people forget about the why. The why can just go out the door. You don't need to know why, because why comes later. Bondage, as well as any other form of kink, goes in 4 steps, LAMP. And if your audience is listening, grab a notepad, write this down. Language, action, meaning, purpose. Watch this. I need to develop the language to articulate my desires so I can bring them into my fantasy world. I want to tie you, right? Then I start thinking about the step-by-step processes to do it safely. Do I want to do it with rope? Do I want to do it with belts? Do I want to do it with leather straps? How do I want to do it? What do I want to see? How do I want to see it? Then what does it mean to me to satiate this longing, this desire? Then you get to your why. That's where the why comes in, because we've done it, we've experienced it, we can dissect it, and we can feel it. That's where afterwards we have a conversation, the aftercare, the afterthought, the debrief. Then you get your why. But first, it starts with navigating that shadow. Let me learn how to articulate it. Let me learn how to take the step-by-step actions. Then let's develop the meaning and the purpose associated with those actions. That's when you get your why.
So if I wanted to reframe that the way I told April, I want you. I want to tie you up.
I am tying you up. You're gonna do shameless sex all day. I want to tie you up right now.
What would be the way I would better articulate that?
Oh, I got it. See, again, let's do the L. I would say, you know what? You look amazing, and I want to have this interaction with you.
That's the language, right? Language.
Yes, the language.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, is it the look? No, it's the language.
No.
Yeah.
The languaging is, I want to tell you what I want to do to you. I want to see your breasts restrained. I want to see your hands behind your back. I want you on your knees. I want you with your mouth open. I'm going to bind over your eyes. I'm going to bind over your chest. I'm going to lock your knees into position. And I want to stand in front of you and do X, Y, and Z. How does that sound to you? And you'd say,
all right, I'm into it.
Okay, great.
That doesn't feel that great for me. I'm just all right.
As long as I look hot while it's happening. I want the ropes to look hot on my body, which you need some skill for too, which is a different episode. However, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we use the language. I told you the step-by-step process that I want to take, and this gives you an opportunity to get consent. Right? So we're halfway there. Now that you say, yes, I want to do that, now we can start talking about the meaning and the purpose. How did that feel to you? Did you enjoy it? Was there anything that you liked more than something else? Would you like to do it again? And why? Right? What can we do more of? What can we do less of? Right? What purpose, if we do it again and again and again, what purpose is it satiating your life? That's really going to be the thing that keeps you going in the long run. What is the purpose that this feels? What itch is this scratching for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I never go into something thinking it's a one-time shot. To be good at anything, you have to do it over and over. It's a practice. This isn't just sex. This is art. This is a craft. This is a skill. If lovemaking is an art, then BDSM is its highest form, right? So I want to not just tie you now, but I want to tie you tomorrow, and I want to tie you the next week. And I want to have different experiences with your body, your form. I want to properly curate you in a way that you look good in my mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's also to make you feel good, not necessarily to just dominate. That's what I love about it. Well, in my opinion, because I'd want to feel good.
Yeah. Well, and so I would hope. So some of the people that I've played in this experience with some sort of like BDSM thing, it's not that they just want to do a thing to me. They are feeling pleasure by giving me pleasure and safety, and whether that comes from restraint or all the various things, like they're feeling into that and being very present for it and feeding off of it. But if it was just like, I want this experience for me, then we'd have a problem, and that might still be consensual. But then I feel like I'm not really like meeting with them. I have just one other question. So with that piece there, so you said the part about, because I really like what you said, like I want to go into it without it being this one-time thing. But what if it is a one-time thing? Is this a tip? Is it a tip to go into it with a mindset that's like, maybe it will be more than a one-time thing, even if it's not, and then you can, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah, and each person gets to do the lamp, right? Each person because I get to consent too, because there's going to be people who want me to do things to them that I don't want to consent to, right? So they're saying, well, what do you want to get out? What is your lamp? Talk to me about your fantasy. Talk to me about how you want to show up in this scene. Talk to me about the step-by-step process that you want to take in order to feel safe dropping into this, safe being tied. What's going to make you feel good? What is the meaning? And then we can go into what is the meaning and purpose of this thing for later on in long-term processes. Never think that this is a one-dimensional thing. We're doing negotiation through this process, and each person gets to talk about their yum. They get to talk about what's delicious and sumptuous to them, right? What I never want to do is think a person has to just sit there and not say anything. I just have to listen to you and say yes or no. No, we both get to talk about what we long for, what we hunger for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. April, what do you long for?
The lamp. I love the lamp. I'm like, can you turn on the lamp? Can you turn off the lamp? And then you'll have to remind me of each of the letters, because it's language and I have a question. Action.
Meaning.
Purpose.
Ooh, purpose.
Language, action, meaning, purpose, lamp. Amy, turn on that lamp. Amy, turn off that lamp.
All right.
Amy,
I'll do whatever you say.
Dim the lamp.
As long as you pet me and say I'm a good girl and a bad girl, then I'll do all this.
All right. I'm playing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say, when you say just pat me and tell you a good girl, I would love this because, again, I have a desire to tie, you have a desire to be tied, but there's also an identity associated with it too, right? We both have roles that we want to show up as, so it's relational. I don't want to do something to your body. I want to know how you want to be with me and how I want to be with you. So I might say, oh, you like being a good girl? I'm going to tie you. Now I want you to put on that little good girl dress, and now we're going to go out to the restaurant, and I want you to know that rope is under your body.
Ooh.
Right? I want you to know that it's under you. I want you to feel it every time you move. No one else will know, but you will.
And it's a vocalizing that. It's not about knowing that, because a lot of times I think folks in relationships, even if they're trying to delve into this slightly, dip a toe or two in, they don't understand about vocalizing it in a way that you can command, but not demand, but you can ask, and sort of in a way that it's with consent. Like, I want you to do this. Right. Because that's what you play. I love that you play on that. And we've had episodes with you about how to do that before, but I think that's important because sometimes it can feel bossy. You're like, whoa, wait, what's happening? What do you want me to do? But I think that's a cool thing to just highlight about. There's a way to command in a sexual hot way that's dominating, rather than just being like, yo, do this. But because I don't know, that's when I feel like it was
negotiation though. Like I wouldn't throw it at you randomly. Like, so April and I were on our second date. We haven't even talked about BDSM. Like, I want you to wear this rope under your dress.
But we didn't touch on that because I think This is an episode that's building on other things like the pre-negotiation, and which we probably we maybe didn't touch on as much. However, there is the pre-negotiation factor that is important. That's where the consent piece comes in. And I know we briefed folks, and we're not going to get into that because this is like a deeper layer. Right. However, that is something that's important to get on with. And Orpheus, maybe I'll touch on that, and then I have something after that.
Yeah, we have to think of is everyone in their mind already has preconceived ideas as to what each word is, right? If I say dominance, you might think of every douchebag who's ever tried to dominate you, right? Mm-hmm. If you think submission, you might think doormat, this, that, and the other. So let's just throw all that out the window. How about you just talk about who you want to be with me, right? Let's talk about that. When you step into your erotic persona, what does she look like? What does she sound like? What does she wear? Right? How does she relate to me? How does she want to be handled? Right? Let's talk about it from there. Right? You're a good girl. Oh my God, you're such a good girl. Look at that. Let's play with your hair. Let's fix your hair. Let's put the skirt on. You look amazing, aren't you? How about this to dictate where we go eat too? Let's talk about where you would love to eat and what you love to have. You know what I mean? Like I start stepping into the role as soon as you start giving me your desires, your wants, needs, and desires. And now I start meeting your desires with mine. You know, I'd love to see, I'd love to tie you beneath your dress. Beneath that cute little outfit, I'd love to see the rope just dangle slightly beneath. Just me and you'll know. It'll be our little secret. Oh my God, we could start playing from there, but each person needs to share their desire. If you can't speak language, your desires, they'll never be met. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's like you're a Shakespearean. It's like Shakespeare, like you're creating a play. It's like Shakespearean art. It really is. At least that's what I get from you, Orpheus, because I get so many things from you.
That's just hot. I'm sorry. I'm like a little turned on after all that.
Hot. Okay.
I'm not sorry, by the way.
Let's bring it now to me.
Ooh, hit on me too.
Like this is going to be hitting on Amy, which usually it's the opposite, but I like this. So let's say, which I'm really into, I want to hog tie you,
me,
Ms. Amy,
hog tie,
and have my way with you.
Yeah.
Little bitch. I would love that in a good way. In a good way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's consensual, but I don't know what turns, I guess, why it turns me on, which is important because I want to have my way
with me.
What? Yeah, with Amy. I want to have my way with Amy, which sounds weird because I love her. She's like my sister. Anyway, that's not the
example. Everyone.
So Orpheus, this is an example because we have us two right here next to each other. So why might I be into being the one that's doing the bondage? Why do I want to be turned on by having my bestie, who in this is my play partner, tied up, hog-tied, and having my way with her?
Well, first of all, look at her. Let's be honest.
I mean, that's yeah.
I mean, that's
mic drop.
You know what I mean? Like, we could just leave that there. I think the audience understands what we're talking about. Okay, so there's 50 million different ways as to why a person would want to step into, like, let's not use dominance because we talked about throwing that language out, an intimate leadership role within the framework of your friendship, right? I want to properly curate you in a way that is in line with our desires. I want to see you vulnerable. I want to give, provide, do things to you that maybe are in line with our fantasies. How does that feel for you? That's where I would go. That's what most people think, but there are people who are like, I want to subject you to my authority. I want to step into a sense of power. I want to experience what it is to dominate another individual by lording my presence over them, right? There's 50 million different reasons of why, right? There's lots of different things, but to make it user specific is what's important. How is this going to enhance my relationship to you, with you, and with yourself? I want this to be a catalyst that helps facilitate how I show up to you, with you, in you, around you, near you. That's what feels good to people. Because if I'm just being a dominant to everybody and I just have one way of doing it, doesn't matter who you are. It's like a tailor not tailoring it to your body, but a general cut, right? So it's a mutual thing. I like who I am with you. I like where we're going. I want to experience who I am in this moment with you, because I can't be this person with anyone else but with you. So that's why you should be doing it. So you can understand another dimension of your sexuality, because this person is allowing you the opportunity to explore it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like you're looking at it with adoration's wrong word, but reverence, I guess. Also, like this is an honor that I get to engage with you. You know, whether it's me being the top or the one that gets to tie April up, or April hog tying me and having her way
reverence.
with me. I love some reverence, but I'm also highly profane. I love some sacred and profane. Okay, like a balance of the two. So but there's something there. It seems like, well, I get to do this with you, so I want to be curious about you, even though obviously I'm getting something out of it. Like April's going to get something out of hog tying me and having her way with me. And part of what she's getting out of it is my positive experience, or my elation or something, right?
Exactly. You're like a Sherpa leading people up the mountain.
You're a Sherpa.
You know what I mean?
Sherpa.
Sexual Sherpa, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I want to be the leader in this engagement. I want to be the one that gives. I want to be the provides. I want to be the person that does. And all you have to do is be able to receive that which I have to give, right? And if it gets too much, if it goes too far, pull the brake, use the safe word, right? And that's a great opportunity, because, you know, the mistake that people make with safe words is that they think like, oh, you ended the fun, like you quit or you tapped out. Really, this should be an exploration. And if we find a safe word, we've acknowledged a new boundary within the framework of our dynamic. I know a new thing about you. This is an opportunity for us to celebrate. It's like, thank you for letting me know. I really appreciate that. Can we have more information about that after we talk about it, you know, and go from there? Was I standing on your hair or something? Like, let me know about how I interacted and how I can be better next time. I always assume that there's going to be a next time. I don't give out weak shit, and I'm very confident in what I do. I always anticipate a callback, because what I do, I'm very good at it. I think it's that level of confidence that really personifies the dominant. And not only want you to have a safe and healthy experience with the masculine, I also know that what I do is and provide for you, you're going to want again. So how can I do it better next time?
That reminds me of the first episode we did with you, which was very much about being in your strong, confident, dominant, sexual, kinky person, and which we'll share more at the end. And also, and I have another thing that I want to get to, but I just want to say we'll get to the part about how you can work with Orpheus, because when you said that, Orpheus, what felt right for me was, yes. And I want to know that when you say I'm really good at this, I want to know the education that you have that made you really good on this, though. And it isn't just that like you like did a kink scene once, right? So like, and we'll get there later, because when I hear that, I will do my research. Well, tell me why you think you're good at this and how you got there. And that's really important. And so we'll get there, because our Orpheus is everyone, FYI, if you want to get good at this, work with Orpheus. So, so question though. Okay. So I want to talk about some of the tools and props on the market, because there's lots of things for bondage and restraint play. And there's, you know, just so many objects and items out there to bind someone when we were talking about rope. But if you can share a little bit, what are the tools that people use for bondage and restraint play, and what's the difference between them?
Okay. So most of the restraints that happen are leather cuffs, leather straps that have buckles on them, that or locks that you bind a person's either wrists or arms together. That's pretty much everything that's on the market. For some people will use leather belts that they can get at something like thrift stores or dollar stores. You can buy belts really easy and bind the body that way. You can also go to your sex shop, get some nice fuzzy leather accoutrement. For other people, there is rope. Right? Now, of course, the knowledge that is required for the rope is a little bit higher, right? You need a little bit more skill, a little bit more dexterity, a little mentorship, because with rope, the opportunity for a mistake to cause harm or damage goes up exponentially. So most people will use something like ankle cuffs. They'll use a spreader bar. They'll use wrist restraints. But when that doesn't get it and you want to take it to the next level, shibari or Japanese rope bondage is always there for most people. And I think that's what in this day and age they're most familiar with. right? They go online, they see the beautiful lady hanging upside down, or the hunky guy bound to a bamboo wall or something like that. And that's good, but it really requires a knowledge and a skill that is above average in order to do safely.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've seen, and I think April too, in the workshops of pure pleasure, we didn't see people hanging from the ceiling, but we saw a lot of, or like piercing play, various things. We're like, this is very intricate. Is not your,
it requires a level of expertise. That is where the courses and the learning comes in. It's not just something that you can watch a YouTube video once. It's like, would you put in a new toilet in your bathroom without watching a fucking video on how to do it? You can damage so many pieces of your house. Like, foundationally speaking, it's a bad example, but it comes from like good, because it's like, think about the leakage and all of the things. Like, if you're going to like bondage and any of these things that you're talking about, there's a level of deep understanding that comes into the placement, the wherewithal with what you're honoring. And I only use a toilet because my friend just replaced a toilet yesterday, and there was a
Google it.
No. And thankfully, but he couldn't figure out where the fuck the leak was coming from. And so I was like, that to me just makes so much sense, because a person isn't like a toilet. Okay. But this situation can be really, it can be really, it can be overflowing, because there was water overflowing everywhere, and you want someone to have a good experience. So it's just that's where the learning comes in, the knowledge. It takes time.
Everyone wins off of that. And so when we're talking about like items and products and things, we're talking about the difference between, like, there's the rope thing, which you're saying, what I'm hearing is a little more intermediate, advanced, or it takes more skill and knowledge than going to the sex shop and buying the fuzzy handcuffs or the leather restraints, because there's, and we, pure pleasure, right? So April and I have our history with working pure pleasure, the brick and mortar.
You tied me up. Remember, you tied me.
Or I used to know how to do a body harness.
Yes, she did.
Oh, nice.
I learned from Midori. Midori taught me how to do it.
And I had a totally hot, like a whole harness. That's
nice.
I think I was 25, and there's an image of me with my
it was very
pure pleasure name tag.
And then you could pull her from the back, and it was
right.
For me, I was like, I'm not. What do you call someone who's a rope person? Isn't there a name for them?
Yeah. So you're talking about rope top and bottom.
The tire. You tie them. You tie them.
Nawashi is a rope master.
Rope master. Okay, so someone who's getting. You're like, it's your art, and you feel like, I remember Medora. She would get into like the swishy sound when the rope would go through.
Yeah.
Rope, like, shoo, shoo.
But I wouldn't have felt comfortable with just anyone doing that. No. By the way, like if some random person asked me, I was like, oh hell no.
And the rope that we were using was just basic cotton rope that you could you could wash it in the washer, and then it's very soft. And then she was like, then there's nylon, then there's hemp, then you can go to Home Depot and get really cheap rope, but some of it's really rough. And so there's all these different variations of it. And then, so just on the product placement piece, or the not placement, wrong industry, the product conversation. So when we're talking about restraint play, so we're talking, I think people are thinking of wrists.
Yes.
We're also talking about ankles. What else, are we talking about anything else besides wrists and ankles for these things that are binding you down?
Oh yeah, you can do thighs. And basically, every time you do bondage, you're almost always tying something to something. Even if it's a wrist to, a bedpost, even if it's the wrist to the bicep, even if it's the ankle to the thigh, you're almost always binding something to something else. Right. So you never think about bondage as in I'm just going to have a one cuff on the wrist and just leave it dangling. Right. So really what we're talking about is the union between two things. Right. So if I want to bring a person down, maybe I don't have bedposts. So maybe I might tie their wrist to their biceps so that they can't defend themselves, so that they can't cover up. And we want to do a little struggle cuddle, something like that. We might want to do an ankle to a thigh because I don't have another place to do. Now they can't get up and walk away, right? There's lots of things to do. Really, the creativity comes in when you think about how can I use this to maximize their pleasure, maximize my pleasure, and gain a different level of access to their body. To me, that's really what we're talking about.
Because there are so many companies, Sport Sheets makes this under the bed restraint system, which I've had for a long time, that fits underneath a mattress, most size mattresses.
We have it at purepleasureshop.com, everyone.
Yeah.
You get 15% off a coupon code Shameless Sex. Just say it.
For real. And I've had it so is that something that you would suggest because it is so easy and accessible because it can come out of the bed, or is that something that's so basic that's too, that's too entry level?
Yeah, the Velcro, so it's easy.
You could get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think that it's really a very beginner space, and everybody needs a beginning. Right. It's great to start with sports sheets, and then you can start with sports sheets and say, you know what, it doesn't have, and then find what it doesn't have and go upgrade. Then you can say, oh, okay, this is great. I can have maybe because I do it a little bit more often because it's becoming a thing. I can invest in something like a steel frame for my box spring. Right. Then I can bind somebody off the steel frame from the box spring. Oh, that's great. How about now we start putting eyelets in a headboard and lock the headboard to the wall? More of a commitment, but definitely more knowledge needs to happen and more dedication. And you can go from there. So start with the sports sheets and then move up as you go. You can start with Velcro restraints from sports sheets. That's no problem. Right. One of the things that I do recommend, though, if they're going to do the Velcro ones, especially the ones that don't have the fur in the middle, grab like a little towel, right? Put it around the wrist, then Velcro down so you can have a little cushion, a little wiggle room so the person doesn't start losing sensation or start chafing, right? So that's kind of like a little pro tip that you can do. You can also go get a lambskin from any store, like a leather store or something like that, even a medical store, cut a couple strips and make your own little, and just take the sports sheets and upgrade them as you want, as you wish, as you get a little more into it. But it's a great entry-level product. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't have to do like a $1,200 frame like I have.
I want that frame though. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should watch this because his frame looks fucking awesome.
Well, that's the thing, because it gets expensive with all of this bondage gear. So there are hacks and how-tos. And if you're intermediate, then you probably already have your dungeon and in your own way. And
intermediate. Jesus.
Intermediate
expert.
Or expert.
Yeah,
well,
expert has a dungeon. But she's saying in your own way. Could you have a mini dungeon? It could just be like a cabinet. Could be a baby dungeon.
And this is the thing, because some people might not want to be tied to something, because the hog tie system I've had for a long time before I ever even knew that that was kinky. And you gave the best definition of what is kinky ever. And we quoted you in our books because
anything that's
so fucking
differs
amazing
from whatever you thought was the standard or the norm or something, right? Like yours, the deviation.
Any deviation from what you think is normal sexual behavior.
Love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right?
so I thought it was kinky as fuck. I was like, this hog tie system that I got, which was Velcro, but I couldn't really get out of it. And it had a hook. And I don't remember. I think it was sports sheets actually. But,
right.
And it was awesome because you could grab it. And I never thought it was that kinky. And I remember I was telling Amy about it and she's like, that's really fucking hot.
Right.
She's like, that's kinky. I was
Way
like,
to get bound to yourself and get fucked.
Wild. But I love that bondage can be created with something as simple as rope from Home Depot, and it could get as intricate as something that is a bed that Orpheus has, like this amazing, beautiful, gorgeous looking bed that can be an entire bondage source on its own. So no matter what level you are, you can take it. I don't feel like there has to be a hierarchy. You can have your own dungeon. You can have the things that are ready to shackle and make chain noises in the night. But
can I just get a sound app for that? Can I have a sound app for this chain noise?
Right. Well, let me be specific. When I say you have your own dungeon, it can be in a bag. Right. Yeah. It could be in your apartment. It could be in your condo. It could be on your body. Right. But the idea is that you have the knowledge, skill, and ability to use the equipment that you have to provide the type of experience that both of you are looking for. Most people don't have the knowledge investment to be able to do those things. I do what I like to call a wearable scene. A wearable play bag. So everything that I'm wearing, I can play. So if I have a shirt, I got a straight jacket. right?
What? Wait.
Is this straight?
What do you mean? Really?
Is this
like,
long sleeve or
you
short
wear,
sleeve?
You wear it in
Long-
back. And
if
then
I have a
long
long
side
sleeve
up.
shirt, you could totally. Oh my god, I'm totally seeing it. This is awesome.
Okay.
Right?
Love
And
it.
if I wear my leather shoes, I have a paddle, right? I have a belt, so I have a whip, right? If I have, if I have a cravat or a tie, I have an eye mask. You know what I'm saying? So I make
What is a
sure-
cravat? You have to explain this. Explain that to me.
It was like I already like it.
A cravat is kind of like a mix between a scarf and a tie.
Oh.
April, you should
Right?
wear that every day.
So dapper.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's for eyes. Oh wow.
Exactly. So when you think about it, I can produce, if I have enough knowledge, I can make whatever I need, I can use, because knowledge is the key. It's not the product, because too long we let the products determine the scene. People are like, oh, I have this flogger and I have this paddle. So
What about a cummerbund? What can we say about a cummerbund these days, Orpheus?
What's like
depending on how big it is? I don't know who's using it, but you
I
can
know.
definitely use it to bind.
We might need to
I
bring
can
it
buy
back
thighs.
just for binding purposes only.
I can
Hello.
buy some thighs, right? I can buy some tops.
I like
Right?
Orpheus's more easy-going definition
just-
of you just wear it and you get creative
I
and
just
learn
really
about
want
how to
a
use
fucking
it.
cummerbund because that was like the
Exactly.
80s.
I don't even know what that is, but I like what you're
A
saying.
cummerbund, it's like that
You
thing
have-
that always matched the sash. The
Yeah,
dude.
it's like the thing that goes over the belly.
No,
back in the
I had
days.
it for a second, but I'm thinking of prom. Sorry.
That's totally what comes from.
Cumber, is it? Oh shit.
Yeah, that cummerbund.
All right,
from
I
prom.
have a question though for you. Oh, I'll let you finish. I have a quick question before we
I
wrap
was
up.
just gonna say, once you have the knowledge of what you need, right, and the knowledge how to use it effectively and safely, right, your desire to have these things goes out the window, because most people will they'll dictate the type of kinky sex they do by the equipment that they have. Don't let your equipment define you. Let your knowledge help you explore the vastness of it. Invest in classes, invest in school, invest in education, and you will be able to go to a Home Depot and produce the type of things that you're looking for. You'll be able to take a sport sheet to the ultimate level. You'll be able to see what you need, because your knowledge will shape how you see the world, how you see your partner. But right now we're seeing it through our financial investment in the sex toys. Right. So you also have to have a knowledge to help you be able to take that to the next level.
I feel like once people work with you, and we're going to get there in 1 second, I have one very short question, I swear. People work with you or other amazing folks such as yourself, they could go to Home Depot, and this is not advertising for Home Depot, but your hardware store, look at all the aisles and be like, that's kinky, that's kinky, that's kinky. And I could create that and make that my own. But you need to have the knowledge about how to use it in a safe and consensual way to get there. So before we get to how people can work with you, because I know you have some incredible offerings, including just working directly with you. You have an upcoming workshops that we're serious that we want to share. But I think it's just another safety question. Because we're talking about bondage and restraints, and we're talking about where we want to be bound, right? Mostly wrists or ankles or various things to something else. And there's like the shared energy. Where do we not want to bind? Like, is there an area of the body that we don't want to put something that is restraining? Or maybe this is a different question. It's not where do we not want to bind, but where areas that we should be more careful about binding? Just for the newbies that might be like, can you share something a little more safe? Because
probably stay away from the throat, or is the throat good?
Right. So again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it really depends on your knowledge, right? Because every time you put a collar around somebody's neck, you're binding their neck, right? It's just not tight. Every time you're binding the wrist, you're going over arteries, right? So it really depends on what your level of comfort is and your knowledge is with the type of products you're using and where you're putting them. Now, for newbies, I would say don't put any pressure on on the neck, on the upper inside thighs where the arteries are. I would say make sure that you try not to do anything too high up on the bicep, because again, there's another artery in it. So for me, just some simple restraints, some leather restraints over the wrists, maybe something over the cuffs to bed, cuffs to sport sheets, cuffs to
your own ankles,
bedposts, all those things. Just putting the body in this position is good enough. Once we start binding the body to the body, we start having to go over areas that may cause some different issues, whether it be nerve damage or circulation issues.
So that's more intermediate. Sorry, when you go to binding yourself to your own body, that may be more intermediate advanced level.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Definitely intermediate. So, but if you just want to meet somebody and have some fun and say, hey, I got some restraints, a restraint to a thing is always works better than binding the body to itself. That's always a much safer practice. And also never use handcuffs. Because most of the time when we see the wrist damage, when we see the broken wrist, when we see broken fingers, when we see major circulatory issues, it's because of cuffs, right? So no metal cuffs at all.
Even the fuzzies don't help with them, by the way. Just like the basic fuzzy handcuffs,
so
they barely do anything.
They're so uncomfortable.
Yeah, leather or whatever.
And
if you don't
hurt.
like leather, like something that's the fake leather, but
and if you're getting action and you're like getting like any sort of like experience with those and they're being pulled on, they can actually really. I'm a bruiser when it comes, and then it looks like. Okay, what happened? Were you in handcuffs last night? Well, yes, I was. But voluntarily. It was voluntary. And I was like, it was awkward.
Yeah.
And also too, they make cuffs in Germany. They're very hard to find. They do make cuffs that are made for this type of restraint, but they're very expensive, very hard to find. And one of the things that makes them so good is the fact that they can be opened without a key. Right. And they also don't continue to lock down. So once you click 1, 2, or 3, that's it. But most of the time when people get hurt is because it keeps collapsing, and then they can't get it off in time. And now they're hurting and they're losing circulation. And in trying to get it off, they wind up hurting, they're breaking capillaries, everything to soft tissue damage to bone damage. So we just need to let that go. Use the leather restraints. They're fine. They'll do the exact same thing that you're looking for. Also, making sure that when you're doing leather or rope, that you got at least a finger's worth of room between the rope and the wrist, right? If you can have that and they can make little circles, that's fine. Remember, as long as they can't get their hand out, that's all you need. It doesn't need to be pushed up against, and pressing into the flesh itself. You need to be able to get at least a finger in, if nothing else.
These are like the extreme pro tips that I'm so glad we actually got to this point, because those are like we have to end the show, but those are some really important last bits there, that like finger in between. And I love what you said about handcuffs, because I honestly have never had one good experience with metal handcuffs in my entire life, and I like
not just when they're raw metal on your skin.
No, I've never, even with the fuzzies though, but like with leather or with what we're talking about with like the under the bed restraints or really nice soft rope. It's a whole different story. But I think that we see this in mainstream media. The handcuff play, and it can be really damaging. And this is so beyond that, but I just love everything that you shared. It's so wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Orpheus, you give so many great offerings, and you have workshops, you have retreats, you have a lot of like already available things, but you do have something upcoming that people can access. So tell us about not only how to find you and your current work, but what's happening. I think it's in August, because you're going to have a retreat. So tell people out there how to find more of this amazing Orpheus Black, because he's amazing, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So we have an upcoming retreat in August. It will be in West Hollywood, California. It'll be August 18th through the 20th. And it's going to be over 3 days. So from Friday to Sunday, we are going to treat it like a amazing summer school where you come in, you have a great day. We do educate all day and we play all night. And we make sure that we try to address every possible thing that you want to engage in. We're not locked into one thing. If the classes want to go into fire play, we do fire play. If they're like, no fire play, we want to use Sybians and sex machines, we go into Sybians and sex machines. If you want to do restraints, we'll do restraints. If you want to do bondage, we do bondage. We have enough staff and personnel to make sure that almost everybody's going to get to experience what they're looking for. But the things that we start off first: safe, sane, and consensual, trauma-informed kink. We make sure that we understand our customer. Make sure we understand who we're working with and what their unique needs are and how we can get there safely. So for me, this is one of the best events that you can go to, because I will be there guiding it personally, and we are going to go into every facet that we possibly can in that amount of time.
And for everyone who signs up, by the way, and Orpheus will tell you where to find him and sign up for things. If you use coupon code Shameless Sex, you get $50 off your sign up. So go get it now because there's probably limited space.
And wait, is that for beginner, intermediate?
Everybody.
Okay. And I'm sure there's limited amount of folks. So because that's a lot to take on. So sign up if you're interested because that's
we started selling as soon as we went live, we started selling. So I'm hoping that we're going to get enough people. And if we get an overflow, maybe we do a part 2 and we just go ahead and extend it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part 2. What's juicier, part 1 or part 2? I don't know.
So that's the 18th to the 20th in West Hollywood. Okay. And then where can they find that info if they want to sign up? How can they reach
Orpheus?
www.orpheusblack.com.
So for those of you who can't spell Orpheus, OrpheusBlack.com, OrpheusBlack.com. And you can go ahead and sign up right there. It's going to be the very top border on the top. Also, we have a hotel concierge service. So basically, if you're from out of town and you want a hotel, we have a hotel that's going to be there. You contact our concierge service. They're going to tell you what rooms we have available, what accommodations, and they're going to make sure that you're there. It's right near LAX, 24-hour shuttle service, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of like a pro.
That's awesome.
See, I get people that ask me about this particular thing that you're offering. I probably can count at least 6 times in the last year, and I never know where to send folks. And I would feel so safe and comfortable and incredibly confident about being like, go to Orpheus's workshops
and she's
courses.
Picky. This is actually
I'm a picky ass motherfucker, and I'm like, I just trust that you're gonna deliver an incredible experience, and I know people will feel safe and taken care of. And that's August 18th to the 20th, 2023, y'all. So if you're listening, that's when you can get that. And OrpheusBlack.com is where you can get that information. Thank you.
Use code Shameless.
Yeah, Shameless Sex. You get $50 off. That's quite generous.
Yeah.
That's like nice. Yes.
I want to get unleashed with Orpheus and his whole fucking awesome team.
Well, Orpheus more. We're going to do our own retreats with Orpheus in the future for sure. Nice. So we're going to make sure that folks out there get access to you first.
We're also adding 2 additional things. We're also going to do a online meet and greet for people so that they can get to see all the other people that are coming, so that they can meet all the other persons that are coming, so we can all get into a Zoom room and just talk about what we're looking for, what we're expecting, and any personal little ideas or thoughts that they may have about the event. And then we're going to do a extended call where we go over and kind of talk about answering any questions that may have come up, or say, hey, Orpheus, I took this note and I kind of forgot about a thing. Can you remind me about this thing from class? So we're going to have an additional call at the end, maybe about a month, September.
So it's like aftercare.
Exactly. So there's pre-care, there's during, and then there's aftercare.
I love that. That's such a beautiful model. Thank you.
It really should go that way.
Yeah.
Thank you
with this type of
so much.
Yeah.
I just, as a presenter who's presented all over the world, one of the things that really stand out for me is sometimes I don't go places because I'm worried about how I'm going to get there. Is the hotel close enough? How am I going to get back to my hotel? Can someone from the area help me get in? So that's why we put the concierge service, just to take one more thing off of people's plates. If you don't like the concierge service, go ahead and find your own thing. That's great too. But we want to be able to help people be a one-stop shop. You buy your thing, you call the service, they help you get in contact with all the people. They'll book it for you. They'll do the whole 9 yards. They'll make sure you feel good, right? We'll make sure that you feel comfortable talking, because I don't know all the people there. We'll get to know this person, and maybe you guys can switch emails. Maybe you can talk about, maybe you're coming in at the same time. That feels good to me, right? And also there's a disconnect that happens after sometimes. You had this great time, you're back in, you want to keep some of that going, you want to meet some of the people. And we try to bring everybody back on the call so that we can capture a little bit of that magic that happens over the weekend. I think that always feels good, and it gives us a great opportunity to say, hey, here's maybe a couple ideas of how you can move that feeling into your sex life now that you're no longer here, or act on that process. So I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of use that model to feel good about this interaction.
Honestly, you're just speaking. I'm an introverted, semi-introverted sub, and you're speaking my language. I'm like, I get to go there. You do all these things for me, and you take care of me later. This is great.
It's like going to class. It's going to university. It's going to college. It's going to school, and it's getting trained in things that you'll use later on. So it's not just the immersive experience that you're going to be having with a professional, with an expert that is world renowned, really. But it's something that you'll take with you as you go on into your experiences with other people within your own realm. And I just think that that's really special. Finally, that we're able to, after years of lockdown and all the madness with like not having personal in-person interactions, that we're able to have these retreats again. So I'm stoked to hear that you are doing that, Orpheus. And if anyone doesn't know, go to orpheusblack.com. We already said that. And you can check out all of his work because he has much more to offer. And you've heard his credentials in the bio. So you know he's legit. Go ahead, Orpheus. Sorry to interrupt, love.
Lastly, one of the things that I think is one of the best selling things, I think, for me, is the fact that I've done everything in this business. I've done everything from phone sex. I've done porn. I've done BDSM pro. I've done live shows. I've done dinner theater. I've done spoken word and sexuality things. I've won contests. I'm a 3-time ABA nominated performer. I'm a 3-time Urban X Award winner, right? I've got internet awards. I'm in 3 Hall of Fames. Like, so for me, when I have the credentials that I think most people are looking for to be able to step into this place and really ask an expert, to really step into a place. If you want to know what it's like to be on a porn set, if you want to know what it's like to have great sex, if you want to know what it's like to take it to the next level, if you want to bring dominance into the space, that's what I've done for the better part of 20 years as a professional. Right. And I love sharing my information with other people. So I'm hoping that this is something that can really help people take their sex life to the next level.
Well, and you do a great job of presenting that information to everyone. So again, we'll have you back, of course, at least a few times a year, at least, because you're so phenomenal. And we will see you, Mr. Orpheus Black, soon. I know, in person. I can't wait to see you in person.
I can't wait to see you.
I know. So to all of our Shameless Sex listeners out there everywhere, I just want you to know how much we love you. Amy and I worship and love you like you are our dominant. We're your submissive. And we want you to bondage us up. And while you're bondaging us, go ahead and rate us on iTunes and Spotify right then when you're tying us up, and give us 5 stars because we read every single review, every single one. And then we'll read it after you untie us. And
you have to ask before you tie us, though, by the way.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, it's a digital tie. Yeah, okay. So
digital tie.
it's
like not, basically in your dreams is what she's saying.
And if you don't feel like you want to be that intense and tie us up, you can just scroll down and give us 5 stars. We do read every review, as I said, and I'm inviting you to do that because it helps more people out there. This is a free resource for you, and it helps more people out there find folks like Orpheus Black who are teaching folks how to do things in their lives to bring themselves more pleasure, to bring their sex lives more pleasure, consensually, of course. And we just love you, and we appreciate you being part of the Shameless Sex revolution. We have so much more to give and share and love with you all. And we'll see you next Tuesday. So ciao for now.